Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Born Podcast, brought to you from our studio here in central Pennsylvania. I'm your host, Nathan Imboden. I have the privilege of being able to interview business owners and leaders from right here in our backyard in central Pennsylvania, learning all about how to start, grow, and run successful organizations. We get a chance to kind of peel back the onion and see what it looks like to really run successful organizations. You can find full replays of our broadcast on our website at questmont.com/bornpodcast, excuse me, and anywhere you do social media, any of your favorite podcast apps, search for The Born Podcast. Click that like and follow button so you can stay up to date on all these episodes. And I think it's appropriate to say, they're back. Charles Mitchell used to be my, I think, highest repeat offender. We said returning guest champion, I guess, at that point. But you guys are getting close there. We got Bryan and Patty Sibbach, I'm going to say the precision family of companies. How about that for now?
I like that too.
But they're back. If you've been following the show in our former version, the Shrimp Tank, they were on during COVID. We had them on for our in the Crosshairs at Corona series. You guys have had a lot that's gone on over these last few years, and it's really cool to bring you back now and to be able to talk about a little bit what's happened over these last few years. So, welcome back.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
All right, why don't we start with just a maybe high-level overview of the companies, because there's multiple lines, a little bit, so that everybody, if they haven't heard of you, if they've been under a rock on social media, but they don't really know what you guys do, maybe just a quick 30,000-foot view, and then we'll dive into some details.
Sure.
You want me to jump in on that one?
Quickly, dear.
Quickly. We'll hold your breath.
We've learned that, yes.
So we have two personal training studios, one on the East Shore, one on the West Shore. That's Precision Training Concepts. 3 years ago, we moved out of the Harrisburg area, moved up into the Shermansdale, Marysville area, real underserved area. We opened up Perry Strength and Fitness Center. And a little under a year ago, we opened Precision Wellness, which is more of a med spa, massage, aesthetics. And in the last 3 years, we've been doing all the personal training for Capital Blue Cross.
Oh, fantastic.
So kind of have our hands in a little bit of everything fitness. Also have been getting more involved in corporate wellness and consulting and helping businesses that are either equipped with a fitness center but it's underutilized, or just companies trying to get more production out of their staff with corporate wellness. So I think that kind of covers everything.
I'd say so. If we go back,
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
That's good. If we go back to 2020, when we were first doing an interview,
right.
At that time, you just had the two PTC facilities, correct? The personal training concepts facilities. So since then, we've got the Perry Strength, the Wellness Center, and all these other things that you've opened up since then, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. Okay, good. We're going to dive into a lot of that here in a minute. But you guys have, not only have you made some of those business changes, but you've had to deal with a bit of adversity over these last few years. COVID was probably one of the first real punch to the guts, in particular your industry, and what you had to deal with. But then you had a great, hey, we're going to open this fitness center in an area that really needs it, and then something comes your way. So maybe talk a little bit about that, and then I want to dig into that kind of adversity and how you just work through some of that stuff. So talk about the fitness center specifically.
Sure. With the Perry Strength and Fitness Center, when we moved out of Dodge, we wanted to just get out of the way a little bit, and we moved and bought a great place up in the Perry County area. And the first thing that Bryan says is, Patty, there's no fitness center up here. We need to do something. So, when you're in business, the reason you go into business is because you need to serve a need. You need to meet a need. And we realized that this was a very underserved area. And we said, you know what, we're going to open up a membership-based facility that is open to everyone, regardless of their level of fitness or experience or wellness. And let's see what we can do. So we did our research in that county. Fitness is always about convenience, so you need to make sure that you're located in an area that is convenient for people, regardless of how invested they want to be. It has to be convenient. And we went to the bank and we said, we're going to open up a membership-based gym, one of the highest failure rates in companies during the COVID in Perry County.
Sign here.
Yeah. But you know what? We did a research. We knew what the numbers were, and regardless of your business, you need to know your numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we got the loan, and it's been a wonderful asset to the county. But going back to your question as far as what happened, about a year and a half into it, where we see this steady growth with membership, but not only membership, but other scaled growth opportunities within that community, we have a fire.
Well, the neighboring business had the fire.
Right.
It wasn't very accidental,
Sure.
but basically shut down
Right.
5 businesses for anywhere from 2 months to a year.
And when you're a young company in that area, the growth is so important those first
Sure.
2 years. So to have it come to a screeching halt, we kind of looked at each other and thought, oh my goodness, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
So we're a pretty good team. Our strengths vary, but to get collectively, it's wonderful. And we made some adjustments, and it was tough. Fortunately, he's like a pit bull when it comes to insurance issues. And
Yeah. Because you probably hopefully you had stuff that would cover not
Yeah.
just the property-related issues, but were there like lost coverages for lost revenue,
Yeah.
somewhat, but it's still,
Somewhat.
it's a punch to the business,
Right,
right? You've got
right.
momentum, and then it just stops.
Right.
I will tell you, there's nothing more humbling than driving up and seeing your business literally go up in smoke, and there's 10 fire trucks in front of it trying to contain all the fire. Fortunately, the insurance have a good agent and had business interruptions, so we were able to continue to pay staff as if they were working. They were good to work with. Kept your head above water, but you pour your life, you pour your blood, sweat, and tears, your pocketbook, and you're just literally watching everything go up in smoke. And I still remember walking around the parking lot, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to lose everything. And then the next time I walked around the lot, I'm like, hell no, I'm not losing everything.
Yeah.
We're going to fight for it.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of came together. The community was great, very supportive. The ambulance building literally the next week said, you can use our space. So we continued classes and just
awesome.
We
tried
looked
to
for
persevere.
solutions, regardless of how small they were, to keep that momentum going
Right.
with our members,
Yep.
with the community, because we knew more than likely if they stopped, they were going to stop their fitness journey and their wellness journey. And we were just looking for any solution that we could find, and we did.
Yeah.
And we did. So a few months later, we were able to reopen, rebuild some of that momentum and that lost membership and business that comes with something like this. And you don't look back.
Yeah.
You don't look back. Lessons learned, but we'll be damned if we look back.
You wake up earlier, you start earlier,
Right.
you end later. There is no, people always think, and you hear this too, must be nice owning your own business, right? You get to take vacations. If I don't work 100, yeah, really, I'd like to live that life.
Yeah.
I work 100 hours a week.
Yeah.
It might not be in the facility, but on your computer, on the phones, every day. And that's kind of what it takes.
Yeah.
And it's even harder if you don't have the staff. We've been blessed to have just a great community and great staff with us too, so it worked out.
And since the fire, we've been blessed up there where in that community, in that county, we're looking for wellness solutions, not only in our one town, but throughout the entire county, looking for ways to partner with health systems. It's an underserved area. They're looking for ways, so it's nice that they can kind of utilize what we've already created there
Yeah.
to provide fitness and wellness solutions there.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, and I think you already answered the question. I was going to ask, how do you push forward and move through something like that? And You already answered it by saying, I just took another lap, and then we were ready to go. We said, just keep moving forward. So I think there's a T-shirt involved there.
Take a lap.
When time gets tough, when things get tough, take another lap. Bryan.
We have a poster that says, "No one cares. Work harder." And it's like I said, it's kind of a punch in the gut, but no one's going to do it except you. Now, you have a great partner and great people around, but it's like Nike, you just have to do it.
Yeah.
You can't rely on others a lot of times, unfortunately, or it'll kind of fall flat. So you really have to kind of take a step back and kind of look through some different glasses. What do we need to do? And just trying to, I think, just talk it out, talk it through. If it was just me, I'd probably go this direction. Fortunately, Patty and I, we balance one another out. We bounce ideas off one another. And she will certainly keep me grounded. And I think I would do the same for her. So between the both of us, our squiggly lines wind up being straight. So
true. Yeah.
It all works that way.
Yeah. Your venture into these different businesses it's a completely different business model than what you were used to, I would assume, when you had just PTC.
Right.
And so what was it like figuring all that out? Because you have business experience, but not in membership-based gyms or in the wellness and the med spa and that kind of stuff. So what kind of stuff did you have to learn that you didn't know from running your personal training facility that really was maybe some of your biggest hurdles to make these a success?
Great question.
So that is a really good question. That's why you have this show, Nathan.
Thank you, Joy. Appreciate that.
In personal training, it was for every hour of training, you need to provide 1 hour with a trainer. It was like time for money.
Yeah.
The membership gym was different. You could have one person essentially take care of 100 people, just to be there, welcome, and have a couple staff to make sure if people have questions or if there's personal training. But you really need to, again, comes back to the numbers. Okay, what are our expenses? Okay, what's our membership per month? What are some of the ancillary avenues to generate income? If your expenses are 100 and you're only making 50, it's going to be a real short visit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you really, there were some people that were in the industry that prior to us opening kind of gave us some really good advice.
Okay.
And just some direction, and kind of said the same thing. You really got to know your numbers, which I think we're good at. But it was, you really just need to make sure, okay, how many memberships do we need? And what type of growth per year? Because you have to come up with these projections for the bank.
Yeah.
Where are you going to be in year 3?
Yeah.
Our building was going to burn down. Like, there's a lot of things you can't predict. Loan denied.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Doesn't look great on an application, I don't think.
No, fire does not.
One thing that was really interesting was when we opened up the membership-based facility, we had people coming through our doors. It was like Noah's Ark, right? The rains were coming and people wanted in.
Yeah.
And they hadn't worked out for years. So the first thing they said to us was, do you guys have any personal trainers? And Bryan and I looked at each other like, that's a plug and play. We really weren't going to add those additional scaled growth opportunities initially.
Yeah.
But we realized, wow, there's a need.
Yeah.
Right? Let's fill that need.
Yep.
And that was a real blessing from early on. And then from there on, we realized, like he said, you have X amount that you know that's coming in revenue-wise in a business. What are some of those other scaled growth opportunities that we can utilize to create a favorable, outcome there? So that's where our brain is with that facility.
Is that partially how the med spa concept came to be, or was that your
No. Yeah,
genius?
well, here's
because this probably relates to another question I had, which
Okay.
was they'll tie together, but maybe this one might lead into it, so I'll just throw it out. You both have been in the corporate world in the past,
Yes.
but for a while you were doing the physical fitness business full time, and you were still in the corporate world and helping out in the fitness side.
Right.
But then at some point made the decision to exit the corporate world and just focus on this full time.
Right.
Were they tangential or?
No.
Okay. All right.
No. So when we moved up to Perry and, COVID had hit, and that really changed my corporate experience. I did a hard pivot out of women's health and pharmaceuticals, and that was hard because you're leaving a very lucrative career, but I wasn't filled personally with, like, I would look at him and he would come home after training and helping people all day and talking about these wonderful experiences, and then he'd say, "Hey Patty, how was your day?" "Fine." Because I wasn't being fulfilled the way he was, and I wasn't jealous. I just wanted to be a part of that. So I made the hard pivot to be a part of that with him. He goes, we'll make it work, and so that's where that first hard pivot came. The second was, I think, to answer your question with going the wellness route and opening up an additional business, was what we see in personal training is that once individuals start feeling better about themselves, whether they're losing a few pounds, maybe gaining a few pounds, or reaching those goals that they've set with us or our staff, they want to start feeling better in other ways. They want to they're carrying themselves better.
Yep. Better posture.
Right. They want to invest in themselves a little bit more. So we found that the wellness with the health and beauty seemed to be very reciprocal in the type of clientele that was coming through the doors.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that located in the same area? Do you have a completely separate location for the med spa?
Same location for our West Shore studio.
Okay.
In
All
fact, we are leaving and expanding into a larger location this summer.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
But
Good.
still in one space, we'll have the wellness on one end, separate entrance, and then the physical fitness and personal training on the other.
Okay.
But separate businesses.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So enough to keep you busy, it sounds like.
Very much so.
So working together, you've talked about, we'll say, complementary differences between the two of you that really create
You must
this
be married, Nathan.
symbiotic ship that just flies as fast as possible over the seas, just gliding, right? We joke, but it takes those differences. If it was two of you,
Wouldn't work.
it wouldn't work.
Right.
If it was two of you, it wouldn't work.
No, not at all.
You know my bride. If she was anything like me, it would be. That's partly why I think we work so well together. Dale, we'll go do something different later. But maybe talk about those differences and how you. Is there anything you had to kind of work through to figure out? What are your strengths? What are your strengths? Actually, you even talked about earlier about how some of that has even morphed and
Right.
changed over
Right,
the years.
Right. I'll let you start,
Yeah.
love. See how that is? See?
It's beautiful.
It's sort of like a lob, and
Yeah.
then she hits it. No. When we very first opened, you kind of referenced, she was still in corporate. So, we found the space, but I was doing all the training. When we opened, it was just me. I was the only trainer.
This was years ago.
Yeah.
Even
This
as we
is
grew.
2011, I believe. Again, I was doing all the training. It was just me. There wasn't other training staff at that point. So I did the cleaning, I did the maintenance, I did the books, I did the accounting. We didn't have all this other need
Right.
at that stage. And then as the business, I'm very routine and very scheduled. So I'd work 8 to noon, client after client after client, 12 to 2, take my break until 5. And then it started going earlier and later, earlier. So I'm getting up at around 4 and going till 7. So you need more staff. It just took the turn where my strengths were going to keep us here. And Patty, again, we kind of used the reference before where I was kind of always walls in, she's walls out. She's much bigger picture than I am. And I go through the steps. I don't have the big picture or not near as clear as she does. And she'll be the first to
Was that a
admit
compliment?
I think it was.
under somewhere,
Yeah.
but she's not the person that goes through the steps as
Sure.
much. So we started to really see the more and more we were in business, we would see where Patty shines and where I shines. And every now and again, I'd step over in that world and I'd slip and fall, and she'd come over and she'd slip and fall. And we just kind of kept our lanes. But oddly enough, the more our business and businesses grew, the more there was interaction where she was starting to take on some of the in-house roles or walls-in role. And we'd go out, and I'm Mr. Social. I don't know what happened. It's kind of how it happened. It was just a natural transformation.
I think too, and I had said this earlier, that when you're a business owner, at least I wish I would have learned this much earlier in life. You don't need to be a master of all the trades, but you do need to be surrounding yourself with those individuals that can help you and elevate you to where you need to be to run a successful business. We're fortunate because we do have those skill sets in our arsenal that collectively we can get the job done. But as we've grown with our business and businesses, now we're bringing in those individuals who also complement what we have.
Yeah. Well, it's starting to get down to even different business building skill set, which is team building and not just staff. So when you were, when you were hiring other trainers, there was more of it, they probably weren't dealing with any of the business or corporate level stuff. Right? They were just coming in to train people. But now you're talking about you have different layers of businesses, and now you're talking about bringing in better team members, not better, but a different role in team members to help continue to round that out, which is a different skill set.
Oh, absolutely,
as well.
absolutely, right.
It's challenging to say the least.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint at heart. Because you're different. You're dealing with all different types of personalities too.
I watched. There was a short clip. I don't know if you saw it. That Elon Musk was doing an interview, and he talked about business and how he does not like running a business and owning a business. He said, everybody sounds like you want it and you like it, but he said when you own and run the business, if and especially if you get to his level, well, money is whatever. It's just, but when you own the business, you're the end all be all. You're the one that usually then deals with all the crap as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Very true.
Because it's you, and that's what everybody kind of comes to that.
Right.
And there's nice parts about it, but there's also that side of it that is the reality that, to your point of, it's not for the faint of heart. It looks good. To the outside world, it might sound like, oh, you guys own your own businesses. That's great.
Right.
There's a lot of garbage that can go into that to actually make it successful, and it's not always fun.
Right.
No.
It's just like a pro sports player. They make it look so easy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think if you're a good business owner, you make it look easy when it's not.
Tiger Woods said, he talked about his training schedule, and it was like up at 4 a.m., run 5 miles, hit balls for 3 hours, go back to the gym, lift weights for 2. I mean, he had like 12 hours a day of training, and all we get to see is him on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, crushing it and just blowing everybody away. But you don't see all that other stuff that goes into it.
And with any of our businesses, it's very visual. So if you would see Bryan and I complaining on video, you'd be like, what are they all about, right? Because we are supposed to be inspiring and helping and assisting people achieve their physical wellness. And you don't want a bunch of old grumps.
Really, for a lot of people, they rely on you to help get them to whatever level it is. So when you're training someone at 5 o'clock, you can't wake up at 4:45, throw a hat on, all right, come on, we're going to do a couple of sets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You need to wake up at 3:35, get your coffee, get your food, get your butt moving, and be motivating. I don't care if you have to play loud music on the way to the gym. People pay for you to help motivate them to get to a next level.
Yeah.
Whether it's a staff, whether it's an employee or whatever, you've got to always be on. That's hard.
Yeah.
It is hard to always be on. So it's like, I'll be right back. I got to go out in the car, listen to some music, work out real quick. That's always been my stress release, but it's also a perfect time to kind of showcase what you're doing and also kind of clear your mind at the same time. It kind of helps me and most people just kind of get realigned in between your ears.
Yeah.
It's good, love.
So, how do you guys differentiate yourselves? And we've talked a little bit about, I think some of this is going to come out with just the way you talk about how you want to help people and what your role and job, so to speak, in that engagement actually is. But also, there's maybe, I don't know if this is even a differentiation question, because you opened the Perry Strength in an area where there was no competition. Well, there was competition,
yeah.
It was different.
Right.
But there wasn't anything else like you around there. But you still have to get people, you still have to convince people to come in. And maybe you were competing with something different. Maybe you were competing with the couch, or, there's always competition.
Yes.
Lack of accountability, you compete with that.
Yeah.
You compete with just,
Yeah. But and some of that's it might be, it's probably a different challenge or a different thing to address than if you try to open a facility here where there's a Gold's and a Crunch and a, whatever that's around, and now you're fighting for clients and name recognition.
People say to us all the time, gosh, I wish you guys would open something, right here on the Pike or right in Harrisburg, and we kind of look at each other because there's different obstacles that you have to face.
Yeah.
But
I'd rather be dealing with the obstacle of putting a facility in an area where there's no facility and deal with getting people in the door than opening a facility in an area where there's 50 other facilities within 15 minutes all directions.
Sure.
Regardless of where it is, there's still that overwhelming, unfortunate thought of people don't invest in their health until they don't have it anymore. Then they go back and think, oh, I should be doing this. And we get a lot of that, unfortunately. So our message is to start investing in your health. It's the best investment you'll ever make. If you don't have your health, what do you have?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
we had a physician that came in. Actually, Patty used to call on him back in the day. Came in, he was in his early 70s. And we're doing a consultation, we're sitting there chatting, and I asked him, I said, so, what's your why? Like, why are you here? And he always dealt with an older clientele. And he always kind of said some things that kind of really stuck with me. He said, it's not a matter of if I fall, it's when I fall, right? And it kind of was sad, but truthful.
True, yeah.
He said, when you're younger, you stumble, you're going to catch yourself. When you're older, it's like everything's in slow motion. There's nothing you're going to do. He goes, I'm either going to pay for training or a membership now, or I'm going to pay for it with hospital visits, co-pays, and medicines. I'm thinking, here's a physician of like 40 years telling me this. So
it resonated with you.
Yeah, it just kind of stuck with me, so.
Yeah. To answer your question, though, kind of what sets us apart, well, we're not 25, Nathan.
What? Okay. 27. 27 and a half.
But we always will say, we think the same word, it's the credibility, because we've walked those walks, whether you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s, and we'll stop right there with that. But, we have been there, we've experienced it.
Yep.
So regardless of the type of client that comes in, we know how to work with them effectively and safely.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. So that spans, I think, and we briefly talked about this beforehand, training through aging.
Oh.
But because you've walked that,
Right.
you could, at 27 and a half, pushing 28, you guys could probably go in and train somebody who's in their early 20s or 30s who are just trying to really like bulk up and get maximum performance, etc. Also, to the 50s, 60s, 70s year old individuals who have a different need, have to approach them differently, and being able to do that well throughout the spectrum is a little bit of what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and this is where I think experience matters.
Yeah.
There's always been a disconnect with, and we've had clients come to us in their 60s. They might be working with somebody who is in their 20s, knowledgeable, but there's just a disconnect because they say, how does he know or how does she know how I feel? They're in their 20s. They should be fit. They should be healthy. So it's a tough hurdle for younger, newer trainers. So when you are in your 50s, I'm in my 50s. I'm not going to speak for my wife, but you train differently through those decades, and generally, and it's not for everybody, the older the clients that come through the door, the longer the laundry list is of potential injuries.
Yep.
Knee replacements, hip replacements, rods in their back, shoulders redone. You got to be careful. You really have to sit down and understand what they can and cannot do, as opposed to, oh, hey, Mrs. So-and-so, let's start squatting. Oh, did I tell you, I have 2 torn meniscus. That's not going to end well. So you really have to know, number one, you have to know your client and think about your own experiences through the ages, if you will, of what worked, what didn't work, and just like your success rate with it. And just kind of apply it that way.
Very good.
What do you think draws people in an area where there was nothing? So there's on one hand you could say, which we know this doesn't happen, but once there's a facility there, people are just going to be flooding in. Now you still have to bring the people in, although there's a little bit of probably the if you build it they will come, but it takes time. But what do you think really draws people to show up, if there's anything different than what you just talked about?
I will say that we've taken our personal training approach, which is very high touch and highly educational, and applied that to a membership-based facility. And so that feeling of, well, I don't know what to do, we'll show you how to do it, and we'll show you how to do it correctly and safely. So we've removed that barrier of, I don't know what to do, I'm not going to go.
Sure. Yeah.
So they know in our membership-based facility that our staff will answer questions, will help them, and it's a very non-judgmental type of zone, regardless of your fitness ability.
Right. One of the things I've kind of found is that it's easier to get people through the door. It's harder to keep them. And it does. It goes back down to the same thing. I look at a gym kind of like if Patty and I were to walk into a shoe store. I get very overwhelmed. I get my phone, I look for the chair, and there I'll sit.
And I'm like, where do I begin?
And again, that's me in the gym. I'm like, oh, look at all this equipment, because I'm familiar with it, right? So most people, and again, look at our area up there. There hasn't been an actual fitness center in there since the late 80s.
Right.
So there's people that haven't worked out for 30 years, and they walk through, I know I need to be here, but I have no idea what to do. So we can get them in. The bigger hurdle is to make sure people know how to use the equipment, and we've made it it's not a gym, it's a community fitness center, because we have kids in their teens. Our oldest member just passed at 97, and everyone in between. The more people understand how to use the equipment, what muscles are effective, how to position your body, just the more you know, the more likely they're going to come in and feel comfortable doing it. If you do have a good workout, after about 2 or 3 times, you'll start to see that person less and less. And it's 90 days, 6 months. Hey, I'd like to cancel my membership. That's on us. We didn't do our job.
Sure.
So the educational part keeps people coming back, and it's family.
Yeah.
So you address everybody by name, and you know their kids, you know their family. So that, I think, the community feel.
And that's regardless of business too. If you see that, it's the relationship, right? If you can form that relationship, regardless of what the business is, more likely they'll want to maintain that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We have some strong brand ambassadors out there as well, which certainly doesn't hurt the cause. And some, you probably know who I'm. You probably could shout her name out right now, but we won't embarrass her.
Okay.
Well, you can if you want to, but that really helps. And I think as you do that more, and people start to experience that it's probably different than what either they were expecting or what they've been used to. But it would be in an area that's not had that overwhelming to walk in and see all this stuff. And I think back, do you guys ever watch Dude Perfect videos? Do you know what Dude Perfect is?
Perfect. It
Yeah.
sounds familiar, but no.
Well, they used to do all these trick shots like basketball and sports
okay.
trick shots, but they started doing these stereotype videos, and one of them is gym stereotypes. And there's this one little segment of people that don't know what they're doing, you know, where they're supposed to be doing leg presses and he's trying to do curls on it, or, you know,
I've
just
seen
whatever.
some
But
Oh, I know exactly what you're
you
talking
see that
about.
and you laugh
right.
at it, but some people, like,
Right.
early on, and I don't know a lot about fitness either, I might do that when I go into a facility that's got all sorts of equipment that I've maybe never seen. So it would be overwhelming. You don't want to be embarrassed. You get your feelings, you got to think about, I mean, it's, yeah. You'd like that stereotypes video, though. I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
'cause
there's some
probably,
pretty funny videos, and I go back to in the area. There's a lot of nice gyms and beautiful equipment, and there's some great staff. I think COVID really kind of opened the eyes to, if you're in the fitness industry, you got to do more than you did pre-COVID to maintain and to bring more people in. The people that were able to evolve with the process are still open. The ones that were not, unfortunately, are no longer here. We've just constantly evolved. You try to stay ahead of the curve. You almost have to think, where is this curve going to drop so I can hit it?
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
You definitely can't be on your heels. And we're constantly thinking, looking for ways to improve, looking for ways to really maximize anything that we're doing, because you don't want to be stagnant in it, or you don't want to be left behind.
Yeah. All right, so what's on the horizon here over the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months? Are you now thinking, all right, we've got these different, well, you just mentioned opening a separate location later this year, which is going to be a little bit of expansion, but are there other things that you're thinking that are in the works, or is it, okay, we've built these things out and now it's time to just kind of harness and grow these before the next thing?
I think, we're spinning a few plates. So we're maximizing the personal training studios, and, we partner with Capital Blue Cross that provide all of their personal training for their insured. The membership-based facility, maximizing what we can do as far as always keeping it fresh. What we see now is really the need out with employer groups, because employer groups are really trying to find ways to provide value add to their employees, to keep them happy, to keep them productive, to keep the workforce
showing up.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So we've been doing more consulting with employer groups, whether they have an in-house fitness facility, whether they want to bring us in to show them exercise, fitness, wellness activities that will make a happier and more productive employee, and we really enjoy that as well. So
go ahead.
I was just going to say that would probably be an area that we're looking to expand, to answer your question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I totally 100% agree with that. And I know, I'm the spouse, I'm supposed to agree. So up in Perry, we started last year, we were asked to go in all the elementary schools. So we did 4 or 5 hours with about 400 or 500 students, every minute on the minute.
I loved it.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was humbling in the sense that the kids were great. It kind of made you sad because fitness was not really pushed or emphasized as much as maybe it used to, or electronic age. I know things are different. So really getting in the schools more, I think,
and
is
it's a great
important.
message that we have too, because even the word exercise can be negative. So we talk about movement, and we talk about movement with kids, regardless of where we are, saying find a movement that you like to do and keep doing it, right?
And that more than
right,
exactly.
just thumb movement.
Right.
Thumbs,
But
right. If you see the team enrollment is down now, so sports teams, there's less and less kids that are playing sports because of of the electronics.
too much gaming.
Right. Which is scary because you just think that health, not benefit, but it's a health risk that's going to increase.
Yeah.
So the other, and kind of elaborate a little bit on what you were talking about, corporate wellness has been around for a while. I think employers, the insurance companies, they know a healthier employee will show up, they'll be less delinquent at work, more productive. everybody knows that. It's sort of like you eat an apple or you eat a bag of chips. They know the apple's better, but they eat the chips, right? So I think the thing that I'm looking at this next year is kind of getting into the corporate side of things where the rubber really meets the road. We don't need to talk about corporate wellness because everybody that is in it knows what it does, what it's supposed to do. But then they walk out and they don't know what to do.
Nothing's implemented.
Yep,
Correct.
exactly.
So I'd really like to make sure, like our next step, whether there's a fitness center or not, helping staff put together, here is the next steps. Here's what you should do. Here's how to start. Here's kind of an implementation just to get the ball rolling. The neat thing with exercise is once that ball starts, it's tough to stop because then you get excited, you start to feel better, you got better energy, you sleep better. You really have to screw it up, not for it to work. Really. So the implementation, I think, would be really key, and ultimately just getting into more consulting so one presentation can educate more people as opposed to like one-on-one. I love the one-on-ones. I think we both do. It's very rewarding, but I think we can get that message out. You know, between the two of us, we have 88 years of experience. So we're...
I started when I was 2.
Yes, I was going to go negative, so that's good. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So bigger message, larger crowds, and just more effective way to get it out there.
And broader impact.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You can. I mean, you can create. You can have a great impact one-on-one with that person. What you're talking about is trying to expand a reach and create a larger, hopefully long-lasting. And we could. Well, we've talked, I think, before in the past about the lack of messaging from the powers that be about health and wellness, and that being a good solution for some of the crises that we've had to endure over the last number of years. But
absolutely.
Being able to start that at an early age is great, and also bring that to the masses is great as
Just
well.
like a good investment if you start early, right?
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. This has been awesome. People that have not, okay, so if they're not convinced yet, if they're thinking about it, they've been sitting back, they're not convinced yet, man, I don't know, this 28-year-old and a 24-year-old, they're just a little too much for me. But if they want to learn more about any of your facilities, what's the best place to learn about? Oh, you have different websites for each of the different, and we'll provide those websites and that information in our links and in the show notes. But where would you suggest people go to find out more information about you guys?
Easiest way, go to ptcfitness.com.
Okay.
We have links.
You have links to
there's
all those.
all
Perfect.
links at each one of the businesses. As just dropping by the studio, a lot of times because everything's by appointment, it's hard to kind of pause a client to go to talk to a potential client. So it's always great to just reach out. It comes direct. Usually we follow up that day, certainly within 24 hours, and just schedule a free consultation, sit down and meet at whatever location's closest and see what we can do. Usually we can help just about everybody to some degree. So that's the easiest way.
Right.
Awesome. And go on social media and you're just going to show up because there's plenty of people that are tagging and following and and this and that. Yeah. So
I'm sure you've had this too. We'll go sit and have lunch. Hi, Patty. Hey. And then they'd walk by.
Yeah.
Who is that? No idea.
Well, and they always like to see what he's eating. So if we're out at a restaurant, people
That's
will
even
just come up
added
and
pressure.
say, we just want to see what you guys eat.
Oh, is that a triple bean burrito with extra queso? Coach Bryan, Awesome.
But
Hey, life's about balance.
Yeah,
true.
and I
It's
will
true.
also say, and we've just become firm believers that you're given gifts in life, and our gift just happens to be playing with rubber bands, big rubber bands, helping people just become the healthiest version of themselves, and it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, keep up the good work. It's really cool to look back and see where things were at, and a lot of it wasn't your doing. It was what you were thrust into with COVID to what all is happening now, and I think the next 3 to 5 years are going to be awesome for you. So,
Appreciate it.
if you're willing, maybe we'll do another update in a few years and see what's new and exciting then. And
When we're 30?
Yes. We'll celebrate your 30th. I might be 21 by then, so we can all celebrate together.
You know, Nathan,
Have a good
if
time.
my memory serves me correct, when we were at your home, you had a fitness center in
do.
your basement.
I do, yeah.
And I think you were going to have me come out and put you through a workout.
It's true. You heard it here first. It's true.
I remember that.
Yeah. I'm a little scared.
Well, shoot, pull first.
What should I be more scared of? That or
The finger?
the fingers? I don't know. But that's a
I've
separate
holstered
story.
the finger
We'll get
the
back to
entire
that.
time.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll talk about that.
You got it.
Everybody at home, go to ptcfitness.com. Check out all of their different businesses. Again, they're doing a great thing serving the community, not just here, but also in an underserved area, creating a huge impact, trying to bring fitness, wellness, health, and a better life to everybody that they get to touch. So thank you guys for doing that.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming on the show. We hope you enjoyed it all. We'll see you on the next episode of the Born Podcast.